I'm Bill Packer, the Magic Man, or the Glad Scientist today. I'm glad to be here, glad that you could join me. The name of the show is it Science or Magic? So we're going to do some science experiments that look like magic, and some magic tricks that look like science. What's the theme for your summer program this year? Is boom read. That's right. So we've got that right here. Boom! Read. It isn't rocket science. Speaking of is it science or magic, what does this say to you? Science or magic? Science. What does it say to you? Magic. Isn't that interesting? Let's try the other side. What does this say to you? Magic. What does it say to you? Science. Wow. It's an optical illusion. It's called hybrid text. Depending on how you look at it, determines on what it looks like. And that's really how science and magic are. It just depends on how you look at it. I have an invisible purse. Have you ever seen one? Of course not. It's invisible. But inside, I carry something fun. I have one of these. And if you rub it just right, funny things happen. You want to give it a little rub? Come up here. I'm Bill. What's your name? Sean? Sharp. You must be a sharp kid. All right, give that a little rub. Yeah. That's a good rub. Oh, if you rub it up and down like this, you can share. So this one for you, and one for you. Would you come up? Thank you. What's your name? Elizabeth. Hi, Elizabeth. Do you know Sharp? Sharp, this is Elizabeth. Elizabeth, this is Sharp. You can date after the show. But that's for you. Hold it in your hand just like this. I'm going to count to 10. I'll need your help though because I can't count very good. Will you help me count to 10? Yes. Okay, here we go. A, B, C, D. Are you counting with me? Oh, starts with 1. I'm sorry. Okay, here we go. 1, 5, 11, 36. Okay, help me out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 10 is the magic number. Tell you what, I'll hold one. Okay, Elizabeth, you hold this one. Hold it tight. I'm going to try to take it out of your hand and put it into my hand with the other ball. Did you see it go? Did you feel it? I have them both. Look. Huh? Where's mine? Do you still have yours? No. Hey! How did you do that? I better get the purse again. I carry an extra ball in cases like this. So I have 1. How many do you have? 2. 1, 2. Okay, hold both of these. Don't let her hit either one. She's sneaky. You can have this one too if you can catch it. Ready? Catch. Hey, good catch! I think we better count those just to make sure. See, there's so many you can't even hold them. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Good for you. I'll put this one in my pocket. Now, do you remember how many balls there were? I'll remind you. We had 1, 2, 3 balls, and then I put one in my pocket. So don't forget how many balls there were. Remember? Yeah, we had 1, 2, 3 balls, and I put one in my pocket. Don't forget how many balls there were. Remember? 1, 2, 3 balls. I put one in my pocket. Did you see how many balls there were? I'll show you. Look. 1, 2, 3. I put one in my pocket. How many balls does that leave in my hand? 3 is a very good guess. But it's not very close. How about a round of applause for my helpers? You like Dr. Seuss? Yes! Doesn't everybody? Yes! Yeah, Dr. Seuss's most famous book, I think, was The Cat in the Hat, right? Do you have a favorite book? Yes. Yeah. What's yours? Yeah.
The Cat in the Hat. Yeah, it's everybody's favorite. But Dr. Seuss wrote 44 world-famous books for children and their lucky parents. His real name is Theodore Geisel. And this book is called Bartholomew and the Oobleck. It's a story about the ruler of the kingdom of Did and his page boy, Bartholomew Cubbins. All year long, old King Derwin would complain about the things that came down from the sky. All spring, when the rain came down, he growled at that. All summer, when the sun came down, he growled at that. All autumn, when the fog came down, he growled at that. And that winter, when the snow came down, he shouted, "Every year it's the same four things. I want something different to fall from my skies. I am king. Bartholomew Cubbins, call my royal magicians." Bartholomew blew the king's secret whistle. And moments later, the magicians appeared. "I wish," spoke the king, "for you to make something different fall from my skies. Something that no other kingdom has ever had before. What can you do? What will you make?" The magicians thought about it for a moment, and then they said a word, one word, "Oobleck." And they went to their secret cave to work their magic. All night long, the magicians ran around their mystic fire, murmuring, "Oh, snow and rain are not enough. Oh, we must make some brand new stuff. Feed the fire with wet mouse hair. Burn an onion. Burn a chair. Burn yellow twigs. And burn red rust. Burn a stocking full of dust. Oh, make the wondrous Oobleck fall. Oh, come down, Oobleck, on us all!" Whoa! At dawn, Bartholomew looked up at the sky, and shimmering in the air right over his head were teeny tiny green specks, just about the size of grape seeds. The king sprang out of bed and said, "That's my Oobleck, I want it, it's mine! Mine! Oh, mine!" But Sire, Bartholomew said, "It's coming down now as big as greenish peanuts." "The bigger the better," laughed the king. "Boy, go tell the royal bell ringer to ring the great holiday bell." Bartholomew ran up the ladder to the high bell tower and woke up the royal bell ringer. But when the old man tried to ring the bell, nothing happened. The bell was covered with greenish molasses. That stuff was coming down now as big as greenish cupcakes. Bartholomew ran to the royal trumpeter to blow the royal alarm, but all the royal trumpeter could blow was some of that stuff had fallen inside his trumpet. The Oobleck was coming down now as big as greenish baseballs. Bartholomew tried to warn the people of the kingdom himself, but it was too late. The Oobleck was coming down now as big as greenish footballs. There were farmers in the fields getting stuck to hoes and plows. Goats were getting stuck to ducks. Geese were getting stuck to cows. Inside the palace, it was just as bad. It was dripping through the ceilings. It was rolling down the chimneys. It was coming in everywhere, even through the keyholes. The royal cook was trapped in the royal kitchen, stuck to 3 stew pots, a teacup, and a cat. The royal fiddlers were stuck to their royal fiddles. Everywhere Bartholomew ran, someone was stuck to something. It was in the throne room that Bartholomew found old King Derwin, proud and mighty ruler of the kingdom of Did, trembling, shaking, helpless as a baby. "Fetch my magicians," he commanded. But Bartholomew couldn't fetch them. They too had been buried deep in Oobleck. "Then I must think of some magic words myself," said the king. Bartholomew could hold his tongue no longer. "It's going to keep on falling," he shouted, "until your entire marble palace tumbles down. So don't waste your time saying foolish magic words. You ought to say the plain, simple words, 'I'm sorry.'" "What?" bellowed the king. "Kings never say I'm sorry, and I am the mightiest king in all the world." "You might be a mighty king," said Bartholomew, "but if you won't even say you're sorry, you're no sort of a king at all." The king cried, "You're right. It's all my fault. Oh, Bartholomew Cubbins, I'm awfully sorry. And as the king spoke those words, all of the oobleck quickly and silently went away. Later, Bartholomew led old King Derwin up to the bell tower and laid the bell rope into His Majesty's hands to proclaim a brand new holiday for the four perfect things that fall from the sky: the rain, the sun, the fog, and the snow. The king himself rang the holiday bell. That's Bartholomew and the Oobleck by Dr. Seuss. Well, thank you. Let's talk about what really matters. Matter matters. What's the matter? You don't understand? Oh, it doesn't matter. I'll explain it to you. Yeah. Matter is everything around you. Everything is matter. And it comes in different forms. Do you know what the three states of matter are? Shout them out. Solid, liquid, gas. That's right. Which one is water? Water is a liquid. What about ice? Ice is a solid. Water vapor or steam is a gas. Yeah. So H2O is the only substance that can be found in all three states of matter. But how do you know which one it will be? It has to do with the temperature. How hot does water need to be for it to start boiling away and become a gas? 100 degrees Celsius or 212 degrees Fahrenheit. They're different numbers, but it's the same temperature. Hot enough to turn water into water vapor. Let's see if we can turn liquid into gas. We'll use, well, about 2/3 of this, I guess. Now, we need to get it hot in here. Tell me hot thoughts. What's thought? Thinking hot. Think hot. Tell me hot. Fire is hot. Give me hot. Lava. Good. Yeah, the sun. Yes. Hot cookies. Yeah. Yes, that's good. It's getting hot in here. You're doing great. I can take it. Oh, it's hot. Look, you turned the water into water vapor, which is a gas. Good for you. Wow, did it get hot in here? Well, what about cold? How cold does water need to be for it to turn into a solid? 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Here, let's use the rest of this. Now, make it cold in here. Ice cream. Ice. Snow. Antarctica. Oh, keep it coming. I can take it. Oh, you're making me shiver. Good. Cold enough to turn water into ice. You did it. Congratulations. Give yourselves a round of applause. That was cold. No matter what state of matter is in, it's made up of atoms, A-T-O-M. And the different kinds of atoms are called elements. Elements are the basic building blocks of all matter, even you. Made up of atoms. Well, there are so many elements that scientists have developed a periodic table so you can study them. Each one has an abbreviation in a particular place on the chart, depending on what type of element it is. And I brought a special friend along to help us learn about the elements. He's my lab rat. Let's get him out here. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, there he is. Please welcome my favorite lab rat, Adam. Hi. Say hi. Hi. Yeah. Hi. Hi, Adam. Thanks for joining us. Sure. Now, how do you spell your name, Adam? A-D-A-M. That's right, of course. Not to be confused with atom, which is what he knows all about. A-T-O-M. Adam knows atoms. He's an expert on all of the elements because he's been exposed to them all his life. Yeah, you know, he's been working in the laboratory for years, getting poked and prodded and getting injections and sleep deprived and food deprived, and he really likes his job, right? Just kidding. Okay, good. I was a little worried there. It's true, though. He started at the bottom, and then somebody moved the cheese. Yeah, I know how you feel. So, you know all about the elements? Sure. Hey, I like you. Yeah, I like you too, Adam. I love you. I love you too, Adam. Don't look at me like that. Give me a kiss. No, I don't think so. No, give me a kiss. Not in front of the kids. Just on the cheek. All right, you got me. Okay. Can you teach us about the elements? Sure. Give us a list of all of the elements. I can do that. Put on the music. Music? Yeah. What do you need music for? I want to sing. You're going to sing about the elements? Sure. Can I sing? Huh? Can I go ahead? Yes. Okay then. Well, here's Adam singing about the elements. There's hydrogen, oxygen, aluminum, selenium, and hydrogen, and oxygen, and nitrogen, and helium, and nickel, terbium, tritium, and iron, magnesium, rubidium, uranium, uranium, zirconium, lutetium, vanadium, and lithium, and osmium, and astatine, and radium, and molybdenum, and indium, and gallium, and iodine, and thorium, and thulium, and thallium. Wow, that's impressive. I hope you're paying attention. I think there'll be a quiz later. There's yttrium, yttrium, actinium, rubidium, and boron, gadolinium, niobium, iridium, and thallium, and xenon, and silver, and samarium, and bismuth, chromium, and beryllium, and barium. Wow, that is great. Is that all the elements? No, there's more. There's holmium, and helium, and hafnium, and erbium, and phosphorus, and francium, and fluorine, and terbium, and manganese, and mercury, molybdenum, magnesium, dysprosium, and scandium, and cerium, and cesium. And leprosium, indium, and platinum, plutonium, palladium, promethium, potassium, polonium, and tantalum, technetium, titanium, tellurium, and cadmium, and calcium, and chromium, and curium. Okay, so that's all the elements, right? No, there's more! There's silver, californium, and fermium, berkelium, and calcium, and palladium, and titanium, helium, and argon, magnesium, zinc, chromium, and chlorine, carbon, cobalt, nitrogen, tin, and sodium. Is that it? Yeah, that's all, folks. These are the only ones in which the news has come to Howard. There may be many others, but they haven't been discovered. Cool. All right. Thank you. Thank you. That was great, Adam. That was wonderful. So, how many atoms did you list there? Because that song was written by Tom Lehrer in 1959. 102 elements. Yeah. But you know, since then they've discovered 20 more. You want me to sing another verse? No, that's okay. I think they get the idea. Okay. I don't know those other ones. Okay. Okay. So teach us about the elements that you know about. Okay. Give me one of those cards down there. Down where? Down there. I can't reach. Okay. I'll get it for you. Yeah. I'll hold it. Okay. All right. What does the letter H stand for when we're looking at elements? Hydrogen. Hydrogen. Very good. H for hydrogen. Here's another one. Oxygen. You're smart. Thank you. Yeah. It's hydrogen and oxygen. Yeah. And hey, we just did this one. It's okay. Trust me. Okay, all right, which one is this? Hydrogen, again. Oh, but now we have 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 oxygen. That makes a compound put together called dihydrogen monoxide, its abbreviation is H2O, and you know what that is? That's right. H2O. Okay, this one's a little harder. What element is this? Sodium. Good, good. It's sodium. Okay. All right. Don't eat sodium. No, don't eat sodium. Not good for you. All right, here's another one. What's this?
Chlorine.
Chlorine. Don't eat chlorine either. No, okay. Oh, but together, sodium and chlorine make a compound called sodium chloride. That makes sense. Do you know what sodium chloride is? No. It's table salt, which is safe to eat. Isn't that amazing? Hey, these are stuck together. It's okay. Well, all right then. What do you get when you combine a whole lot of sodium atoms?
I don't know.
Batman is not an element. I know. It was a joke. Yeah. Do you know any other jokes about sodium? Nah. Good, good, good. You know, our food is made up of elements too. Which element is this? Barium. But look, you've combined it with 2 more sodiums, haven't you? What kind of compound is that? Banana! That's silly. It was another joke! But you really should eat a lot of bananas because it's high in potassium. Okay? Okay? Good. We're in agreement. I got a couple for you. Okay. What does a doctor try to do for a guy who's hurt?
Heal.
Heal. That's funny. Yeah, I bet you like that. What if he has a disease? Cure him. Right? And if that doesn't work, bury him. I thought that had all the elements of a good joke. But if you thought that stunk, you should see plutonium. P.U.
I think we heard enough from Adam. Let's give him a round of applause as he takes a nap. Well deserved. Thank you, Adam. Because now we're going to look at the elements of success. I'll need a couple of helpers. Helpers. How about the guy with the nice tux? I like that. You dressed for the occasion. And the lady with the anchor on her chest there. Hello. I'm Bill. What's your name? Calvin. Hi, Calvin. And you are? Hi, Madison. Come on up here, Calvin and Madison. I've got a bag here. We're going to give Calvin all of the elements. Yeah, all of them, all together. And Madison, you won the red ribbon. Congratulations. So, Calvin, could you put all of the elements into the bag, please? And Madison, you get to put the ribbon in there as well. Stuff it in there really in between some of those elements. Get it down there, stuck in there. Good. Yeah. In a moment, we're going to have a magical pseudoscientific reaction. We'll say some magic words, and the elements of success will be positively attracted to the red ribbon. All you have to do is say the magic words, fizz, boom, read. Say fizz, boom, read. Very good. Fizz, boom, read. Everybody, fizz, boom, read. Oh, one more time. Louder. Yeah. Oh. Well, look at that. Calvin, here, take an end of the ribbon. And Madison, here's the other end. Very carefully and way up high, take out the elements of success. Yep, lithium, bromine, argon, and yttrium. The elements of success. Lithium, bromine, argon, and yttrium. What kind of a compound is that? Oh, it's in code. It says library. But you don't become successful just by walking into the library, do you? While you're there, you have to read. And I suggest that you read every day and discover. Let's have a round of applause for Calvin and Madison for being great helpers. And let's have a round of applause for your library and your librarians as well.
It is story time. There's nothing more magical or scientific in my mind than snow. So I chose a book that has snow in it. It's called Axel Annie by Robin Fulver. Axel Annie was a school bus driver from the town of Burskyville. All the kids couldn't wait to see her in the morning because she did magic tricks and told stories and sang silly songs. Whenever a really big winter storm came up, the superintendent would telephone Axel Annie to ask her if she thought she could make it up over Tiger Hill, the tallest hill in Burskyville. Because if she couldn't, he'd close the schools for the whole day. But her answer was always the same. Our school bus is yellow. Of course I can make it up Tiger Hill. And she always did. She would gun the engine and put the pedal to the metal and soar to the top of Tiger Hill, passing a lot of stranded motorists along the way. But at the top, she didn't fight those snowbound drivers to ride on the bus as well. That's why Burskyville never had a snow day. Now, Mr. Rhodes was the meanest bus driver in Burskyville. He hated how he never, ever got a snow day, all because of Axel Annie. So when the next winter storm came up, he made a deal with the ski resort owner, Mr. Snow, to bring his snowmaking machine over to Tiger Hill and turn it into a monstrous mountain of swirling snow. As usual, Annie gunned the engine, put the pedal to the metal, but about halfway up the hill, the wheels began to spin, and the engine quit, and the bus got stuck. For the first time ever, Annie wasn't sure if she could make it to the top of the hill. But then, the bus slowly and gently glided up to the very top of Tiger Hill. When Annie turned around, she could see that it was those stranded motorists that she had helped so many times before. Annie saw Mr. Rhodes and Mr. Snow trudging up the hill. They looked so miserable she couldn't be mad. So she invited them to ride in the bus too. Mr. Snow was so impressed with Axel Annie that later he named a new ski slope after her. Now when kids head over to that scary and steep slope, they ask each other, do you think we can make it down okay? And the answer is always the same. Our school bus is yellow. Of course we can make it down Axel Annie's slope. And they usually did. That's the story of Axel Annie. Magic, thank you. The snow is so magical and so scientific, you ought to check out a book about it. This one is called The Story of Snow. It is written for children, so it's easy to understand. And here we learn how snow begins as a speck, and how the speck becomes the center of a snow crystal, and how the snow crystal forms as it falls. Beautiful pictures of snowflakes in here. Do you know how many points there are on a snowflake? It's almost always 6. Yeah. Hey, remember the stories about King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table?
Yes.
Camelot. Camelot. There was a magician in those stories. Do you know his name? Merlin. Yes. They say that Merlin had power over the elements. So I thought it might be fun to head over to Merlin's lair and play with his potions. We might discover that Merlin's magic is really science. Now, when we're experimenting with chemicals, you need to wear your safety glasses just in case something splatters. Ooh, a mystery powder. Not very much. Let's see, what could we do with it? I'll add water. Oh, look! In a split second, it turned into pudding. It's not pudding to eat, but it's kind of like pudding. Look, it's sticky. You can stick your finger, it's okay. Yeah. Isn't that weird? Wow. That powder is called a polymer. It's very absorbent. It's the same powder that they put in baby diapers. Here's some more powder. It's the same chemical but it's formed a little bit different. When we add water to this, it doesn't make it sticky. Just like in the Axolani story. That's how he did it. Isn't that neat? A little bit of powder made a whole lot of snow. But it isn't real snow. It just looks and feels like snow. So much that this is what they use when they make movies with snow scenes in them. It's fake snow. You see, the molecules in the polymer are really long and skinny, and the water molecules can fit in between those molecules, and it makes them bigger, so it expands. You know, kind of like a sponge. You know how a sponge has holes in it, and you put water on it? The water goes in the holes, right? But then when the water goes in the holes, the water pushes the holes out so that the sponge gets bigger, right? And it expands so it can hold more water. That's how it works. Ooh, a liquid. Almost clear. Mm-hmm. Ooh, this is exciting. Here's another one. Almost clear. Remember when we were thinking hot thoughts and then we were thinking cold thoughts? Well, now I want you to think ink. Look at the cup and think ink. Everybody think ink. Whoa, you guys are good. Good thinkers. I think you're thinking like a scientist. That's great. Yeah. Here's a little more powder. It's a different kind. We don't need much. But it should be enough to bring us right back where we started. Is it science or magic? Science! Well, we're doing magic tricks with science. Isn't science fun? Yes! I'm going to drink your blood. No. This is fruit juice. Cherry. It tastes sweet. This has baking soda in it. It tastes yucky. Yeah, I know. Red and white. Put them together, what do we get? How about icky green? Yeah, looks like my bath water last night. Hey, I did a lot of shows yesterday. Vinegar. It tastes sour. Put them all together, and we get a sweet and sour mix that tastes yucky and makes bubbles. Isn't that neat? Let's get the big bottle out. This is stuff that we put on cuts and scrapes to make them heal better. It's called hydrogen peroxide. Its abbreviation is H2O2. One more atom of oxygen than water. This is stuff that we use when we make bread. Yeast. Why do we use yeast when we're making bread? To make it rise. It makes it rise. scientist, you want to check out a book. Perhaps one like Crazy Concoctions. With a book like this, and your parents' help, you can make gooey glop and silly slime, and fake blood, and fake puke, and fake boogers. And it's filled with scientific facts, as well as some stories about famous scientists. Oh, it's a really fun book, Crazy Concoctions. And speaking of stories, my favorite story in this show is the secret science project that almost ate the school. I was grouchy, I was grumpy, I was slouching in my chair. I was thinking grim and gloomy thoughts about the science fair. Miranda bragged her rocket ship could travel to the moon. Alexander taught his hamster how to sing a tune. The ants on Mary's ant farm were growing corn and peas, and Kevin Fink was on the brink of curing a disease. Miss Fidget looked me in the eye. I wish that I could hide. What will your project be, she asked. It's secret, I replied. The secret was I didn't really have a project yet. I needed an experiment that no one would forget. So I stayed up late and found a great one on the internet. A science project fully guaranteed to win first prize. A substance so amazing judges won't believe their eyes. A mutant yeast with just a piece of dragon DNA. Professor Swami's Super Slime. Order yours today. I sent the money instantly, and early Friday morning, a box appeared. It looked so weird with big green letters, warning. Your super slime is sensitive, so handle it with care. Keep it safe inside this box until the science fair. Then feed it sugar till it swells 1,000 times in mass. Stand back as it erupts into a harmless cloud of gas. I propped the lid and gave that slime a teeny tiny poke. It started growing bigger. It growled and blew off smoke. It catapulted from the box and splattered on the floor. Precisely as Sir Scratch-a-Lot stepped through the kitty door and plopped his paws in mutant muck, he brutally hissed and spat. Yikes, the secret science project ate my kitty cat! Is that your secret science project? Asked my sister Kate. Stop, I said, you'll hurt its feelings. Oops, it was too late. The slime began to spin around and rose into the air. And as it roared and hit the floor, my sister wasn't there. Just then I heard my father's voice. What's going on in there? Something in that bedroom smells like moldy underwear. My science project's sensitive, I warned. Don't make it mad. There was no time to stop the crime. The slime ingested Dad. It started growing bigger. The science project looked at me. I thought I saw it drool. I tried to run away, but yikes, it followed me to school. Miss Fidget shouted, ew, what is that big, disgusting creature? The slime stopped short and gave a start and ate my third grade teacher. It grew larger by the minute as it swallowed Alexander. It incorporated Kevin Fink and Mary and Miranda. As the slime was busy slurping all the rest of Mary's ants, I remembered the instructions in the pocket of my pants. Sugar, I commanded. Feed that hungry slime some sweets. Kids reached in their backpacks. Soon the air was filled with treats. As donuts flew, and cookies too, and candy bars and gum, the bloated blob was sure to swallow every single crumb. I shook a can of soda pop and sprayed the growing slime, till I could tell that it had swelled at least 1,000 times. Now everybody hide, I screamed, ka-flam, ka-flash, ka-floo! It vanished in a stupefying burst of CO2. The science project that almost ate the school. In case you were wondering, Miss Fidget, Kate the sister, the father, and even Sir Scratch-a-Lot the cat were all okay. Let's make a soda geyser. I'll bet some of you have done this. You get a big bottle of Diet Coke and some Mentos mint candies, and you mix them so you know what to expect. Here's my grandson Ethan doing the experiment in our driveway. What to do? Okay, are you ready? We're on in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, watch.
You go. Does that look like fun? That was the first time I had ever done it. I had no idea it would go that high. Almost missed it. How does it work? Mentos mint candies are just the right size to fit inside a bottle. And the entire surface area of each one is covered with holes, little holes that are nucleation sites for the carbon dioxide in the bottle to make bubbles. The candies fall to the bottom of the bottle, but then those bubbles form so fast they force all the liquid right out of the top of the bottle, and you get a super soda geyser. You want to do it in here? Yeah! Oh, we can hit this ceiling easy. Yeah. I'm kidding. I made a little contraption. All the candies are inside this middle tube with a little trap door underneath. And when we pull out the trap door, all the candies will fall into the bottle at the same time. So if you try this at home and do it outside, you make a little tube, a mailing tube or a piece of paper that you can put together and put the candies in there with a piece of cardboard underneath. And you put the cardboard on top of the bottle, and you pull the cardboard out, and the candies will fall in at the same time. You've got to do them all at the same time. If we're lucky, well, instead of the water going, or the liquid going all the way up to the top, we'll distribute it into the glasses instead. So it's a no mess version. If we're lucky, we'll have 6 cups of mint-flavored Diet Coke. Yeah. Give me a countdown. 5, 4,
3, 2, 1.
If you're not that fond of Diet Coke, it's really better with the mint in it. If you like science and magic as much as I do, we can combine them even further. I have a couple of books I highly recommend. Martin Gardner's Science Magic and It's Not Magic, It's Science by Hope Vetita. Both books are filled with stunts and tricks that you can do at home with things that are laying around the house like pennies and paper clips and rubber bands and paper. And you can learn things using water, air, gravity, motion, magnetism, sound, and lights. You can learn a lot about science by doing magic with it. Arthur C. Clarke said any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. That means that magic tricks, most of them have scientific principles behind them that are kept secret from you. That's what makes it fun. But who needs magic when you have science, which is just as amazing? Can I get a big test tube out? Yeah, let's do it. that you can take home with you, as well as some instructions for doing magic tricks at home, just for you. And yes, you can pet the bunny too. Thank you!
Now you guys